Hello everybody, it is your Professor, Rocco your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this AoS General class, we're going to be covering, it's above me here, Sylvaneth! Are Sylvaneth good? I was asked, and how are they good, and why are they good? So, let's talk about Sylvaneth. Their bark is about as strong as their bite there. You know, it's just, I murdered the saying, but I'm going to keep the take. You know, the bark is as worse as their bite. Because they're strong. They're strong. They're an elite army. And I've got 3 things that I like that are changes that they've done. And I've got 3 lists after to talk about with some different builds. And I just think they're fun. And I also have the book. So I can just do this because I want to play them. Alright, because my living city got taken from me with my cool combo. And I miss Wood Elves. And with all the tree Revenant models now being like the winged archers, the gossamer archers, and then the lancers, and it's given me a little bit of an elven vibe back, and I like them. So first things first, places of power from the old book got retouched. Now we can have pregame 3 pieces of overgrown terrain that you can treat as if they were awakened wildwoods. And why is that great? We're going to go to the revamped From the Woodland Depths. I have it written down here. I just gotta, don't mind me. First things first, walk the hidden paths. That stayed pretty much the same, where once per turn, at the end of your movement phase, you pick a unit within range of a tree or overgrown terrain feature, and they can teleport. All right, end of the movement phase, real big. And considering you start off with 3 pieces of overgrown terrain, so you don't have to worry about where to place trees, because that was a problem before, was if a board was too terrain dense, you couldn't place your awakened wildwoods. Now, you can't choose your places of power in enemy terrain, but that's okay, because a lot of the objectives in the current General's Handbook are in the middle of the board, or close enough to it. So that's where you want them to be anyway. And then you just have a lot of board control for your very elite army that can teleport there. You've got tree revenants that teleport. You've got high movement in the new Spite Lancers. You've got the endless spell, the Spite Swarm Hive, to give you bonuses to charge. You are very scary as an Alpha Strike army. And you've heard me on the channel say, if you're going to Alpha Strike, you better come correct, because if you don't have enough damage and bring enough force down, you're just throwing yourself out there to be countercharged. Sylvaneth have the ability to just wreck face, and then have this ability called Strike and Fade, where once per turn in your combat phase, just yours, after a friendly Sylvaneth unit that is wholly within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature or a friendly awakened wildwood have fought, you can remove that unit and set it up again within range of another awakened wildwood or overgrown terrain feature. So, functionally, this gives a unit that doesn't have always strikes first, like, let's say, Kurnoth Huntress with Size, with that ridiculous, I think it's -3 rend. They go in, smash a unit, and you're like, oh no, I overextended, I left my unit out there to die. Nope, after they fight, they get to go back through the tree and set up again in relative safety. Which is huge, because then you're not sacrificing a unit to take out theirs, and you're trading back and forth like a chess game. No, this is, I don't even know what it's like, because you're just yoinking. It plays and feels like the Sylvaneth lore of their ambush fighters, their jungle fighters, their forest fighters, their guerrilla warfare coming at you from the bushes, and I love that, and that will catch a lot of people off guard, because especially with the spell to summon a tree, and you can either do like a single or you can make a circle out of the trees. Because the new terrain feature for the Awakened Wildwood comes in 3 pieces. You can put them together to make a circle, or you can have a third of it pop up somewhere. It can be very easy to fit a tree piece to be able to deep strike and teleport your stuff around. And it's just really freaking useful. it is just so dang useful. I'm trying not to curse because I'm just that excited right now. The next new thing that I like is the Seasons of War. Shout out to the Battle Report channel with basically the same name, but in the book Seasons of War here is that you've got the burgeoning, the reaping, the dwindling, and ever dusk to be the analog to spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So the burgeoning is Sylvaneth units that did not charge and are wholly within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature or wildwood, awakened wildwood, have a 6-up ward. The reaping is add 3 inches to the range of your places of power and from the woodland depths traits, because it's summer, life is good, long ranges. I don't think you're ever, because you have so many ways to have the overgrown terrain tree just to plop down individual trees, I don't think you ever really have to worry about being out of range of that. I don't know about that. I love the ward save so much with how tanky like Kurnoth Hunters are, because they start off at a really good save, have a lot of wounds at 5 wounds, and then being able to give them like a Mystic Shield and then all out defense them. It's very, very easy to, and then throw the ward save. They're just not going to die. Then we have the Dwindling, which is a really popular one because a lot of lists lately have been using and utilizing the Warsong Revenant as their general, which we'll get into later. And this allows you to reroll 1 casting roll, 1 unbinding roll, and 1 dispelling roll, so long as the wizard, the friendly Sylvaneth wizard, is, again, wholly within 9 inches of the overgrown or wildwood terrain. And there's also a new command trait called Spell Singer that gets used a lot and will be in one of the lists, where you can cast a spell through one of the trees, and it's a command trait basically to say your trees are a spell portal now, which is huge, and it's really cool to be able to do that. And it saves you points to not have to bring a spell portal. And then finally we have the Everdusk, which is, because it's winter, subtract 3 inches from the range of the places of power and from the woodland depths battle traits. Instead of it being 9 inches, it's 6 inches from the tree or the overgrown terrain. But if you are within that range, 6 is to hit for melee attacks. Score 2 hits instead of 1. Which is huge if you're going, let's say, scythes, and you've given them the extra attack from, there's a combo with the with one of the heroes that lets you, I'm gonna find it because I like it so much. Not Drycha. The Arch Revenant, because everything's a Revenant. It's like all the Fire Slayers are all Slayers and Berserkers of some sort. The Arch Revenant has an aura to give +1 to wound for Kurnoth Hunters, and has a command ability to add 1 to the attacks characteristics of melee weapons used by a unit of anything, because it's just a Sylvaneth unit, which is awesome. So if you have exploding hits, which is functionally the same as rerolling 1s to hit, and you just throw on the extra attacks, you're going to feel great. You're going to roll generally as many 6s as you do 1s, and then it just works out really well. And if you spike your dice, even better. I'm big on that one. And then finally, here, things that I really like outside of Spell Singer, I really love, they have a command trait called Gnarled Warrior, where you ignore modifiers, positive, negative, to the save rolls that target the general for attacks that target them. I'd want to throw that on a Durthu with one of the sword artifacts to just mess people up. Spell Lore is great. I really like the new Glades. So they got simplified, where they don't force you to take an artifact or a command trait. Not that any of those were really that bad before. So Gnarl Root sticks out to me because once per turn, when you make a casting or unbinding roll, when you're wholly within range of the terrain feature, you can roll 3d6 instead of 2d6 to try to do those rolls, just to help make sure they actually go off. That would also work with the reroll, which is really cool. And honestly, if you give like the Arcane Tome to a Warsong Revenant to give it an extra spell cast, you could probably grow a new tree from somewhere, and then do the Warsong Revenant blow up. So the thing is with the Gnarl Root is you roll the 3d6, but you take the two highest. Or really, it's you remove one, but everyone's going to just take the two highest, because of course. And you have a very good chance of just blowing up a lot of units with the Warscroll spell from the Warsong Revenant, which is for each unit within range, you roll however many dice equal to the casting roll you just had. So let's say you rolled to 12, you take 12 dice, and then I believe it's on 5-ups. You do mortal wounds to people. And then over time, that will add up really quickly, especially if you affect multiple units with it. Next, my personal favorite, because I love Kurnoth and I miss Orion so much, Heartwood, the true heirs of Kurnoth. They have a cool ability, which is after you deploy, but before the first battle round begins, you pick up to 3 different enemy units on the battlefield to be the quarry of the hunt, and you get +1 to hit them with your Heartwood stuff. Really cool. You know, it saves you the command points for the all-out attacks, and if you're going for, like, Bow Kurnoth, so they could be +1 to hit with their shooting, so it's more likely to hit, and then you have that Arch Revenant, which gives out the aura +1 to wound. Again, I'm a double check, but I am 99% sure. Add 1 to rune rolls for the attacks made by friendly Kurnoth Hunters unit. It's not even a melee attack that gets the +1 to wound, so all of a sudden Bow Kurnoth become a really tanky unit that can be effective within 30 inches. They can shoot through their own wildwoods now, which is great. And it can be, again, a lot of damage over time. Between the magic and the shooter, you can be a really serious ranged threat while being tanky on like a middle table objective that you can teleport your shooting stuff around, so they're never really threatened. Now, this is an army that's gonna really love all its movement shenanigans. And my last shout out here that I really like is Harvest Boon. I want to say Winterleaf gets an honorable mention because they have a cool thing where, enemy units within 3 inches of a Winterleaf unit cannot retreat. In addition, if you went Everdusk, because you get to pick one of those seasons that you're in, enemy units within 3 inches of a friendly Winterleaf unit cannot be removed through teleporting or any cool thing like that. They're like the anti-strike and fade army. Like, if you're going in a mirror matchup, Winterleaf is a good option, honestly. But I really like Harvest Boon because it focuses on the new Spite Rider Lancers and Revenant Seekers, where it's after deployment, but before the first battle round begins. You can move each friendly Harvest Boon Lancer or Seeker unit up to 12 inches as a pregame move. And those things already move really, really far to start with in the movement phases. So you can set up to either like screen aggressively with them, and if you know you're not going to go first, you move them back. So it's like you psych your opponent out in deployment, which is awesome for you. If you want to be aggressive and go first and you see your opponent left you a gap because they didn't, recognize or care enough about your pregame movement, and then in your normal movement phase you just fly over their screens, you do that. This is a way to take advantage of your opponent not respecting your movement threats. Whether it's teleporting, whether it's this pregame move, you need to respect the movement game of the Sylvaneth now. They really are guerrilla warriors, and it is awesome. And with that, I also want to say that the Warsong Revenant has +1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding while you're within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature or friendly wildwood. I forgot about that, which is really cool because their spell, again, it could be modified. You can roll a 13 and roll 13 dice. And again, there's so many ways to get good rolls on that and ensure that mathematically because you're rolling the 3 dice, because you got the plus to cast. You've got a reroll if you need it. It's a really sound, cool thing, you know? And I want to go and get onto some examples. So we will be right back. And we are a ghostly head inside Warscroll Builder. And I want to talk about this list that just got second place at a tournament called Crucible X down in Florida, where our friend Bradley went. He didn't have that good of a showing with his corn, but he had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, and he got his first taste of what New Sylvaneth could do, which is what kind of prompted this question here. So, to help my friend be able to navigate some things earlier and throw him under the bus a little because we love him, and you gotta razz your friends a little bit. We're playing D&D together still. Don't worry, everybody. We're still friends. Let's do this for Bradley. All right. So going through here, Gnarlroot, again, our magic focus sub-faction, which gives us the awesomeness that I talked about before with the Warsong Revenant, with the Arcane Tome to give him an extra cast, and also in the season that allows the rerolls, so the Warsong Revenant is just amazing value for 305 points. And for this grand strategy here, take what's theirs, is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are more friendly units than enemy units wholly within your opponent's territory. Again, territories are far, but Sylvaneth teleport really well. And you have enough damage to just wreck people. You know, the Warsong Revenant will be growing like a singular tree somewhere out from another tree, and then using that new tree to do this blow-up spell on their War Scroll. Which is why you don't see... Because there's another artifact that the Sylvaneth get that like automatically casts one of the spells from the Lore of the Deepwood. But that's secondary. The Warsong Revenant is about board control. Because also, if it kills enough stuff in the hero phase, by the time you get to do your movement phase teleporting shenanigans, there's a brand new tree that might all of a sudden not have enemies within 9 inches of it. That you can just drop a unit down and you make your own hole that you punch through. We've got an Arch Revenant for the +1 to wound. We've got a Battle Mage of Gur, which I love very much. I don't think he took Levitate, but it was an option on Warscroll Builder, so I put it in. I think it'd be really funny to have flying Kurnoth coming in. The thing with the Battle Mage and Gur is the Battle Mage from Cities of Sigmar, which, again, I love, big fan, long time. I actually used an old Spellsinger from 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy as mine, where, because you're in Gur, you get +1 to cast at all times. You know, that's because you're in Gur, it's a Gur Battle Mage, that's the rule. Which means that you use... Because it's a Gur Battle Mage, it has a War Scroll spell that gives +2 to charge to a friendly unit. Not cities, just a friendly unit. And again, the Arch Revenant is to super buff Kurnoth, and to give out the +1 attacks and the +1 to wound, hopefully on size, but it could be on Seekers for the extra attacks. You know, it's just a really useful ability, you know, use where relevant. 2 units of Tree Revs for teleporting and more board control. Maybe an easy score of take what's theirs, have the Tree Revs hang back in the backfield, and teleport out to different objectives that had to be abandoned because you've killed so much of their stuff they had to condense. 10 Dryads to hold a backfield objective and be cheap bodies. And then we get to another thing of allies in these Aether Wings, which are also very, very, very cheap bodies that you could throw up on an objective to die later in the middle of the field. Or, if you're on the Nidus paths and you're really worried about people teleporting behind you, guess what? Just throw the Aether Wings back there and move the Dryads up as a front screen. And the Dryads now have an ability where if they're in range of the trees, they are -1 to be hit and wounded. There's still a 4-up save, but the minus is to be hit and wounded. I'm going to double check because I just said that out loud, right? And this is the internet. So real-time fact-checking here. Branch Witch and Granite Dryads. Subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for attacks that target this unit while they are wholly within 9 inches of any overgrown terrain features or friendly awakened wildwood. There you go. That makes them tanky. You know, you throw a Mystic Shield and all-out defense on them, they're staying at a 4-up save. -1 to hit and wound them will affect a lot of stuff. Which is really cool, you know? They're all of a sudden, I think mathematically almost as tanky as when I have my the Marty Thralls in range of a boat for a 5-up ward save, just because of like the negatives to hit and wound take away so much dice that the 5-up ward save would save me about 1/3 of my damage. They're deceptively tanky, especially in large enough numbers where they can take the hit and then you rally some back. And then we get to the new Revenant Seekers. They have a cool ability where we're going to do this live. Thrumming with life. At the end of each phase, if any enemy models are slain, you can heal all wounds allocated to this unit. But more importantly, they are the Harvesters of the Lamentiri, you know, the little soul pods that they have, where once per turn at the end of your movement phase, you can pick one friendly Sylvaneth unit with a wounds characteristic of 5 or less that is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, and roll a dice. On a 2-up, return one slain model of that unit. You can't pick the same unit to benefit from this if you've got multiple of these, so it's not like you can grow back 2 Kurnoth Hunters to a unit. But in this army, it's either them, you know, it could be themselves or the Scythe Hunters, really is what you're looking for. And they've got a standard bearer that lets them have a 6-inch pile-in move when they are able to actually pile in. So it's really hard for them to charge in, and let's say they charge the same unit with the Kurnoth Hunters. The Kurnoth Hunters kill a lot, and your opponent starts pulling models away to try to stop you from piling in. 6 inches is huge, and you just go right on in. And again, it's all about supporting these 2 units and board control here. And then you've got a Tree Lord, just a regular run-of-the-mill, holy cow, this person actually ran a Tree Warlord. And it's actually really good. 14 wounds, 3-up save, Ground Shaker. It gets its own monstrous rampage to make someone strike last on a 3-up. Lash and Tangle, if an attack made with a melee weapon scores a hit, the models in the target unit cannot make pile-in moves, which is amazing. As we know about nets from Deepkin, sharks that I love. The ability to go first with the Tree Lord, stop pile-in moves. Come on now. Hordes are going to be so scared of this Tree Lord just because of how good it is with that. To be like, oh cool, you're out of place, you tried to be cute with me with your reach. When you charged in, you know, you try to limit however many models the rest of my units can get into, or vice versa. Now, either I'm going to make it so that you just can't really hit me back with a lot of stuff, or I just don't care. And it's good in combat. Also, let's talk about these Kurnoth Hunters with scythes here. They are a base 3-up save with 5 wounds. It is very easy to keep them on a 2-up save in combat. Trample Underfoot is still, they do mortal wounds at the end of the combat phase. You know, Tanglethorn Thicket. If enemy models in this unit finish a pile-in move within 3 inches of a friendly unit with this ability, they take a mortal wound just for existing. That got rid of the rerolling saves ability. So I'm okay with this. More mortal wounds in an army that doesn't really seem to have a lot outside the war song. But then we get to their actual attacks. On the sides, having -3 rend. Yes, you can run the sword hunters where 6s to hit do mortal wounds and the sequence ends. But -3 rend will feel like you have mortal wounds. They've got longer range, so you can take a unit of 6. They're going to get in combat, because below this you see the Spite Swarm Hive is here, where you just, when you combo with the Gur Battle Mage and this, that's +5 to charge. They're getting in there from a teleport from the trees, and it's going to hurt. Going to hurt a lot. Then we have Cogs there too, to reroll casting. So this list, again, from what I understand, did take the ability to reroll the spell. But what would be really cool with this too is if you're already going Gnarl Root, you get the 3d6. Why not, throw Cogs out, and then you actually take the Season of War that gives you the exploding hits on 6s for your army. And then those Kurnoth Hunters with Scythes, you're not missing the 6s to hit on the swords. You're like, yeah, man, I really want extra attacks with this -3 rend 2 damage. And you'll also see, I've got these little stars here next to the units to denote the battalions. The Seekers and the Kurnoth Hunters are in the Bounty Hunters battalion. As we remember, this season of the General's Handbook, Bounty Hunters get extra damage against Galatian veterans. Galatian veterans are generally battle line that are not mounted, that have, I believe it's 4 or less wounds. They get a lot of benefits, like the Tree Revs are Galatian veterans. A lot of armies are bringing them to try to score extra bonus points, doing different things in games. Kurnoth Hunters all of a sudden become -3 rend, 3 damage into a clan rat. I don't care what you're doing. 6 Hunters, that's 6 times 3 is 18, 19 attacks plus the leader. And then you pop the command ability to, let's say, I don't know, +1 attacks. So that's 25 attacks. Hitting on 3s, but let's all out attack that to hitting on 3s to hitting on 2s. You're in the aura for the Arch Revenant. So you're hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, 6s to hit explode. -3 rend, 3 damage. Nothing is going to live through that. I don't care if you are Phoenix Guard with a 4-up ward save. Nothing's going to live through that. You're just throwing so many damage dice to make someone say, yeah, make your saves. Oh, you can't. Make your ward save. Oh, cool, you saved half. That's still like 20, 30 damage. Get out of my face. And this list is just so good. Coming in at 1985 points. We also, I believe, have the Triumph for +1 to wound. So if for some reason you're not in range of the Archrev, you're going to get wrecked anyway. The next idea, something that I like, that I'm messing around with myself. Again, it's not fully tested, so, don't harp on me here. I like Heartwood. I like No Place for the Weak, destroying battle lines. I've got a Spirit of Durthu here. I've got the Greenwood Gladius, so when Durthu charges in, he gets D3 extra attacks. I know it's the Spirit of Durthu's a title, it's not really Durthu, but again, fantasy player, sue me. Gnarled Warrior, so his 3-up save just becomes unrendable, which I think is awesome. I am, with this, actually going for the ward save to try to make my Durthu a little bit more survivable with the Season of War. I can't actually put them on the Warscroll Builder. There's not a setting for that, so, trust me, bro. Follow me, camera guy. Lady of Vines, I love her so much to grow Dryads. She's a caster. It's neat. The Arch Revenant, again, is a must-take here. I've got 6 Scythes and 10 Tree Revenants in the Bounty Hunters. I've got the Spite Swarm Hive to, again, do the teleporty and the easier charge from deep striking. And Spite Revs in bounty hunters into other Galatian veterans will rip them a new one. And then again, you just yoink them right out. You know, let's say I put Mystic Shield on my Kurnoth hunters. They both charge in. I'm having the tree revs go first, yoink them out. Kurnoth hunters can take the hit. I've got Verdurous Harmony to try to grow a Kurnoth hunter back. Life is good. I've got 20 Dryads to be my other tank on another flank. It's very easy to just have 2 of 10. Again, this is a work in progress for me. I just have a lot of Triads. And then I've got 5 Gossamed Archers because I love them so much. They have really cool Unleash Hell ability, a little mortal wound shooting, never hurt anybody but your opponent. And 4 drops because I can't have Durthu and the Lady of Vines in the battle regiment. They have too many wounds. It's one or the other. But yeah, no, it's a nice little 4 drop. I like it. It's fun. And then finally, Harvest Boon. This is you hear the fluttering of big dragonfly knights coming in, just drone out and fill the sky. And hear dun 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 as they come in and swarm down. This is a Warsong Revenant with Spellsinger and the Vespral Gem. The lore of the Deepwood being Tree Song. Tree Song is you pick one of your Awakened Wildwoods, and it gives out an aura of +1 rend to your units. So it's functionally, hey, here's the cool ability about Purple Sun, minus the damage. Because getting the Spite Swarm Lancers, who are in the Bounty Hunters for extra damage, to be, pulling up the book, I'm going to do this old school here. Because I'm so excited, I want to make sure I'm saying this right, because I've misspoken in videos before. Do this for you, dear viewer. So Spite Rider Lancers here are 4 attacks each with the Lance, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -2 rend, 1 damage. All of a sudden, you pop up the Tree Song for the extra rend, -3 rend, and you go into a Galatian Veteran. You're at the same profile as the frickin' Kurnoth with the Scythes. With more attacks. And then the mount also goes, that'll go up to -2 rend. And these have Always Strikes First. This is a lot of board control here because it's the pregame move sub-faction. I like having the exploding hits on this, but there's also going Gnarl route there for the Warsong Revenant. You got the 3 dice to try to cast a spell. Is a valid option. And it's just really cool. And this could all be a 1-drop as well. And then you will almost always, I shouldn't say always, but you could almost always be sure you know who's going to go first or second. And then play mind games accordingly with the pregame move on the Lancers. And you've got 2 units that have Always Strikes First. They can go jump into something. You know, if one doesn't clear something and you want to gamble on the other, one of them will be popping out anyway in your turn with the Strike and Fade. You have options. You've got a lot of the Tree Revenants teleport. The Gossamed Archers can teleport through the trees. Drycha has a lot of mortal wound shooting. The Warsong Revenant has a lot of mortal wounds with the spell. You can make the Lancers feel like they have a lot of mortal wounds with the -3 rend on the Lances. I really like this list a lot. I just don't own 12 Lancers, so this is probably a Tabletop Simulator list for me. But if you want to go and run 12 Lancers and just pretend they're Wild Riders, I have a bunch of Wild Riders on my shelf. I could just put little wings and they're like riding Pegasi. I don't know. But it's really cool. And I think the point I'm trying to get at is there are a lot of good options. The internal balance on this book is amazing. But you need to watch out for the fact that they can take a command trait and the trees act as a spell portal. They teleport everywhere. They strike and fade. It feels like guerrilla warfare. And if you're not ready for it, you will get wrecked. And with that very long rant and answer, because this was a kind of a tournament breakdown for me, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to class today. And as I like to say at the end of all of our videos, class dismissed. Bye.